The fire in the storm, the planet Ravos, was nothing but dust and echo, a dead world spinning under a red sky, its cities swallowed by sand. No one lived there anymore, no one sane at least. Captain Aaron Voss had been alone for 6 days. His ship was gone, torn apart by a meteor belt when the warp drive failed. He had crawled from the wreckage with nothing but a cracked helmet, a rifle, and 1 pack of emergency rations. Every step since then felt heavier. Every breath tasted of iron. He found shelter inside the skeleton of an old transport hub. The roof was half melted, the walls open to the wind. He built a fire from broken crates and burned circuits. It gave off more smoke than heat, but it was something. The night on Ravos was colder than death. He huddled near the flames, whispering to the silence. Just one more sunrise, he told himself. Though he didn't believe it, he had seen no signals, no survivors, no hope. Then, through the storm, he heard it. A sound soft and strange. Not mechanical, not the wind. It was a cry. Thin, shaking, alive, Aaron froze, gripping his rifle, eyes scanning the shadows. Again the sound came, closer now, a whimper breaking through the roar of dust. He stepped out of the shelter, the storm cutting at his faceplate. "Hello," he shouted, his voice lost in the wind. No answer, only movement. 2 shapes stumbling between the dunes. Small, thin, wrapped in shredded fabric. They collapsed near the firelight. Aaron lowered his weapon, moving fast. When he knelt beside them, he realized they weren't human. Their skin was pale grey, faintly luminous under the fire. The older one clutched the younger to her chest, shielding her from the wind. Her lips trembled as she looked up at him. "Please," she whispered, "we are hungry." For a long moment he said nothing. War memories flashed behind his eyes. Orders, enemies, the faces of aliens who never begged, only fought. But these 2 were shaking like leaves, their bones showing through their skin. He sighed and took out his last ration pack. He tossed it toward them. "Here," he said, "eat." The older one hesitated, then tore it open. She handed half to the child, keeping only a small piece for herself. They ate slowly at first, then faster, like they hadn't tasted food in days. Aaron sat down again, watching the storm crawl outside. The fire crackled between them. After a while, the older one spoke, her voice quiet but clear. "My name is Sarah," she said. "This is Nye." Aaron nodded. "Captain Aaron Voss," he replied. Nye looked up, her eyes glowing softly like twin moons. "Thank you," she said, barely a whisper. Sarah studied him carefully. "You should not help us," she said. "Humans do not help our kind." Aaron gave a short, tired laugh. "Maybe I missed the memo," he said. "Besides, I'm not much of a soldier anymore." The firelight flickered across their faces. For the first time since the crash, Aaron felt something that wasn't emptiness. It was fragile but real. Connection. He tossed another scrap of wood into the fire. Sarah looked around the ruined station, her eyes narrowing. "You are alone here," she said. "Everyone else is dead." He nodded. "They were," he said. "My crew. I buried them in the sand." The younger one, Nye, leaned against Sarah and whispered, "Will he die too?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Not if I can help it," he said. The sisters looked at each other. A flicker of surprise, then something like hope. Outside, the wind screamed louder. Aaron glanced at the sky. A strange light pulsed beyond the clouds. "Storm coming again," he muttered. Sarah frowned. "That is not a storm," she said quietly. Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting fear. He stood, gripping his rifle. "What is it then?" She hesitated, then whispered, "The hunters." Before he could ask, the ground began to vibrate. A low hum rolled through the metal floor. Far off, red lights moved across the desert. Dozens of them, machines, walking on 6 legs, scanning the sand. "They track heat," Sarah said, pulling Nye closer. "They smell life," Aaron cursed under his breath. He threw sand over the fire, dimming the light. "Stay down," he ordered. He aimed through the crack in the wall, watching as the machines crept closer. Their eyes glowed crimson through the storm. One of them paused, turning its head toward their direction. Sarah gripped his arm, her skin cold as stone. "If they find us," she said, "they will not kill us. They will harvest us." He looked at her, then at the small girl clinging to her side. "Not tonight," he said quietly. He pulled a grenade from his belt and nodded toward the door. "When I say run, you run." Sarah's eyes flashed silver again. But this time it was different, stronger. The air around her started to hum, a low vibration that matched the sound outside. Aaron stared. "Are you doing that?" She did not answer. Her hands glowed, and for a moment, the light from her skin met the red glow of the machines outside. The nearest hunter froze, its lights flickering, its legs locking in place. Then it fell, silent, lifeless. Aaron looked at her in shock. "What was that?" he asked. Sarah breathed hard, sweat on her forehead. Our hunger was not just for food, she whispered. It was for energy. We take it from those who would take it from us. Outside, the other machines stopped moving. Their lights dimmed one by one. The storm fell silent. Aaron lowered his rifle, still staring at her. The sister, who had looked so fragile a moment ago, now glowed like a living weapon. Sarah met his gaze and said quietly, "You fed us, human. Now we will feed you hope." The wind rose again, carrying the smell of burned metal and dust. And in that dead world of ashes and fear, a new alliance was born. The warmth of the unknown. The morning came slow and colorless. The fire had died into gray dust, and the wind outside whispered through the ruins like a ghost. Ryan woke to silence, the kind that pressed against his chest. He looked around. The smaller girl, Nye, was still asleep, curled against her sister's side. Sarah sat awake, staring at the fire's remains. Her silver eyes dim but thoughtful. "You don't sleep much, do you?" Ryan said quietly. She didn't answer right away. Her voice, when it came, was soft and strange. "Sleep makes us dream," she said. "Dreams make us remember." He frowned. "Remember what?" Sarah's gaze drifted toward the storm, beyond the cracked walls. "The worlds we lost," she said simply. Her words carried no bitterness, only the weight of truth. Ryan didn't know what to say. He turned his attention to the wind instead, trying not to think about how lonely her voice sounded. He had seen refugees before, soldiers, civilians, survivors of a dozen colonies torn apart by war. But there was something different about these two. They didn't just seem lost, they seemed forgotten. He stood and checked his gear. What was left of it? Anyway, one half-empty canteen, one rifle with 2 energy cells, and a damaged beacon that no longer worked. "Gonna look for scrap," he said. "Maybe I can fix the signal." Sarah's eyes followed him. "If you send a signal," she said, "they will come." He gave her a confused look. "That's the idea," he said, but her expression didn't change. "I wasn't speaking of rescue," she said. Her tone sent a chill through him. He didn't ask more. He didn't need to. Something in the way she said they felt wrong. He stepped outside into the daylight. The storm had cleared, leaving the desert stretched endless and quiet. He walked past the wreckage of old towers, half buried in sand, each one covered in strange metallic growths. Vines of steel and glass that pulsed faintly. He touched one and felt it vibrate like a heartbeat. He pulled his hand away quickly. "This planet's still alive," he whispered. Back inside, Nye had woken. She sat cross-legged, drawing circles in the ash with her finger. Sarah watched her with an expression that was both protective and tired. "She misses the sun," Sarah said. Ryan glanced up. "There's a sun right outside," he said. Sarah shook her head slowly. "Not our sun," she said. "The one that remembers us." He stared at her for a long moment. There was something in her words. Something not metaphor, not poetry. Something literal. But before he could ask, Nye gasped. "The sky!" she cried, pointing. Ryan ran to the window. Far off in the distance, the horizon shimmered. For a moment, it looked like water. A thin, rippling blue line moving through the dunes. Then he realized it wasn't water. It was light, crawling across the ground like liquid. "What is that?" he breathed. Sarah's face went pale. "The collectors," she whispered. "They've awakened." The hum grew louder. A vibration rolled through the floor. Nye covered her ears, crying softly. Ryan grabbed his rifle. "Explain now," he demanded. Sarah stood slowly, her voice trembling but clear. "They came when our people fell," she said. "They feed on the dead, on the energy left in bodies. In memory," Ryan's eyes widened. "And they're coming here." "Yes," she said quietly. "They smell life." He looked around, searching for anything that could help. "Is there a way to stop them?" he asked. Sarah hesitated, then said softly, "There's only one way." Her gaze turned toward Nye. Ryan frowned. "Don't even think it," he said. Sarah shook her head. "I won't sacrifice her," she said. "But if we stand still, they will find us." She walked to the center of the floor and knelt. Her hand touched the sand. Immediately, a faint blue glow spread outward from her fingers. Ryan stepped back, shocked. "What are you doing?" Sarah's eyes flickered brighter. "I am calling the buried light," she said. The ground vibrated harder. The old floor plates cracked, releasing thin streams of silver mist that rose into the air. It looked beautiful and terrifying. Then she turned to him, her voice trembling. "You fed us when we had nothing," she said. "Now, let us return what was given." The air around them shimmered. The light from the ground flowed toward her and Nye, wrapping around them like threads of silk. Ryan shielded his eyes as the entire room filled with blue fire. The sound was like 1,000 voices whispering all at once. And then, silence. When the glow faded, the sisters stood still, eyes closed. The hum outside was gone. The rippling light on the horizon had vanished. The world was quiet again. Ryan lowered his rifle slowly. "What just happened?" he asked, his voice shaking. Sarah opened her eyes, her silver glow dimmer now. "They were hungry," she said softly. "So we fed them." He stared at her. "With what?" She looked at him. "With ourselves." Nye swayed and nearly fell. Ryan caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold. Sarah knelt beside them, her hands trembling. "You must go," she whispered. "They will come again." Ryan looked at her. "I'm not leaving you," he said. She smiled faintly. "Then you are already one of us, outside." The wind began to rise again, carrying faint whispers through the ruins. Ryan didn't understand their language, but deep down, he knew the world had just changed, and so had he. The human who glowed. The sky was still grey when Ryan woke. The storm had passed, leaving a silence that felt heavier than sound. The fire was gone, burned down to white ash, and the sisters were gone too. Only faint footprints remained in the sand, glowing softly like silver trails leading into the dunes. He sat up slowly, his body aching. "Eri! Nye!" he called. No answer, only the whisper of wind over metal. He stood, heart pounding. He hadn't realized until that moment how empty the world felt without their voices. As he moved, something caught his eye. The faint shimmer on his hands. At first, he thought it was sunlight reflecting off the dust. But when he rubbed his skin, the glow didn't fade. It pulsed. Faint but steady. Thin lines of light ran along his veins, moving in rhythm with his heartbeat. He stared at them, speechless. "What did you do to me?" he whispered. His voice echoed back, swallowed by the ruins. He stumbled toward the water recycler in the corner, using its reflective metal as a mirror. The face that looked back at him wasn't quite his. His eyes gleamed faintly silver. His skin held a dim glow under the surface. He didn't look human anymore. He looked like something that had borrowed human skin. He gripped the edge of the machine, trying to steady his breath. And then, a voice, soft and familiar. "Do not be afraid." He spun around, weapon drawn, but no one was there. "Eri," he called again. The voice came from inside his mind this time. "Yes," it said gently. "We are still here." He froze. "You're in my head," he whispered. The voice seemed to smile. "We are in your heart," it said. "Where you put us when you fed us." He blinked. "That's not possible." "Neither is kindness," the voice answered. "But you did that too." He sank to the floor, his weapon slipping from his hands. The realization hit him. The sisters hadn't left. They had become part of him, a part of his blood, his breath, his being. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the faint warmth under his ribs. "What are you?" he asked. For a moment, there was silence. Then both voices spoke together, Eri calm and low, Nai bright and soft. "We are what is left of the light that remembers," they said. "We shared it with you because you shared life with us." He didn't understand, not fully, but he could feel something deeper. An energy moving beneath his skin, like a tide. It wasn't just power, it was emotion, memory, hunger, and peace all at once. Suddenly the ground shook. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Outside, a deep hum filled the air. Rhythmic and heavy, Ryan ran to the doorway and saw shapes rising from the dunes. Machines, tall and spindly, their red eyes burning through the mist. Dozens of them. He raised his rifle, instinct taking over. But before he could fire, the weapon hummed in his hands. Blue light spread from his fingers into the metal. The rifle came alive, glowing like molten silver. He fired. The shot exploded from the barrel in a streak of white light that tore through one of the machines. It fell instantly, its body crumbling to dust before hitting the ground. Ryan stared at the rifle in shock. "What the hell?" "You are using us," Eri said softly in his mind. "No," Nai corrected with a giggle. "He's using himself." The machines turned toward him, their eyes flaring brighter. Ryan ducked behind the ruins. As more beams of red light scorched the sand, he could feel the power inside him surging again. The glow under his skin brightened until it hurt. He closed his eyes, breathing hard. "I don't know how to control it." Eri's voice was calm. "Then don't control it," she said. "Trust it." He stepped out from cover. The air around him shimmered. The machines fired again, but the light from his body bent the beams away. They curved like streams of water, splashing harmlessly into the sand. Rian raised his hands, and the ground beneath the machines cracked open. Blue light burst upward, swallowing them. When the glow faded, nothing remained but quiet. He fell to his knees, gasping. The silver glow dimmed, fading back under his skin. His hands shook, his vision blurred. "You're going to kill me," he whispered. Eri's voice answered, sad and soft. "We are trying to save you." "Save me from what?" "From what's coming." Ryan looked at the horizon, the clouds shifting, glowing faintly gold. For a second, he thought it was dawn, but then he saw it. Shapes moving within the light, massive and silent, not ships, not machines, something older, something that made the air itself hold its breath. He whispered, "What are they?" Eri's voice trembled for the first time. "The ones who built us," she said, "and now they want us back." The wind rose again, carrying a strange metallic taste. Ryan stood slowly, his weapon dim in his hand. His reflection shimmered faintly in the glass floor beneath his feet. Not human anymore. Not alien either. Something in between. Something new. As the lights on the horizon grew brighter, he whispered to the voices in his chest. "Then I guess we'll show them what you've made me." Nye laughed softly. "A human who glows," she said. Eri answered quietly. "No," she whispered. "A human who remembers." And together, under the burning sky, they waited for the gods who had come to reclaim their creation. The ones who remembered the light. The desert was quiet after the storm. The wind no longer screamed through the ruins. It whispered instead. The air shimmered faintly, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Ryan stood on the ridge, staring at the horizon where gold light bled into the sky. He could feel it, something immense approaching. Not ships, not machines, but presence. A gravity of will, pressing against his skin like invisible fire. The voices inside him were silent, not gone, just waiting. He felt Eri's calm breath behind his heartbeat. He felt Nye's gentle hum in the rhythm of his lungs. But neither spoke. They were listening. They were remembering. Then the light arrived. It didn't come from the sky. It came from the ground, a thin beam at first, cutting through the dust, then a circle, spreading wider and wider. Rian shielded his eyes. The glow turned into a shape, tall, radiant, formless, not human, not alien, something older, something that looked at him and saw everything. He took a step back. "Who are you?" he asked. The voice that answered wasn't sound. It was inside his bones. "We are the architects," it said. "The builders of the Mirrorborn." Ryan frowned. "The sisters," he said softly. "They were your creations." "Yes," the voice said. "And they were our mistake." Ryan's jaw tightened. "They weren't mistakes," he said. "They were starving, alone, and still they saved me." The golden light pulsed. "They defied their function," it said. "They were made to consume, to absorb the dying energy of broken worlds. They were not meant to feel, but you made them feel," Ryan said. His voice shook with anger. "You gave them hearts and punished them for using them." The light grew brighter. "You do not understand," it said. "Emotion corrupts the flow of purpose. They were never meant to choose." "Then maybe purpose was the mistake," Ryan said quietly. For a moment, silence. Then the ground beneath him began to crack. Light poured from the fissures, flowing toward him, wrapping around his body like golden fire. Pain shot through him. He fell to his knees, screaming. Inside his mind, the voices awoke. "Rian!" Eri's voice cried. "Don't let them take you!" Nye shouted. He clenched his fists, his veins glowing brighter. "What are they doing to me?" he gasped. "They're trying to pull us out," Eri said. "To erase what we became." Ryan forced himself to his feet. Sweat dripped down his face, turning into steam before it hit the ground. The golden light pressed harder. "You are carrying stolen light," the voice said. "It must be returned." He grit his teeth. "They gave it to me," he said. "Not stolen, shared." The air shook. The light flared until everything turned white. In the blinding glow, he saw shapes moving. Shadows within light, thousands of them. The architects. Each one tall, weightless, beautiful, and terrible. They stood like gods made of glass, their eyes burning with ancient power. "Return the gift, human," they said together, "or be consumed with it." Rian staggered, his skin now burning with blue light that pushed against the gold. The voices of the sisters grew stronger inside him. "Ryan, let go," Eri whispered. He shook his head. "No," he said. "You will die," Nye pleaded. "Then I die human," he said. And not a mistake, the ground split open behind him, light pouring upward like a second sun. The architects reached for him. Hands of pure energy stretching through the air. He raised his own hand. The glow of the sisters, merging with his pulse. Their light turned silver, his turned blue. Together they collided with gold. The world erupted. There was no sound, only pressure. For a moment, Ryan saw everything. The sisters' memories, the architect's first creation, the fall of their perfect world. He saw why they made the mirror born, to preserve life by devouring death. But somewhere in the endless cycle, something changed. The sisters learned love. They learned compassion. They learned hunger not for energy, but for kindness. When the light faded, Ryan stood alone. The golden figures were gone. The sky above was clear. The desert silent again. His body glowed faintly, cracks of silver light running along his arms. He looked up and saw something new. 2 lights in the sky. Not stars, not suns. They were alive, airy and nigh. Their voices echoed faintly inside him. "We stopped them," Eri said softly. "For now," Nye added. Ryan smiled weakly. "I thought I lost you." "You can't lose what you've become," Eri said gently. He sank to his knees, exhausted. The glow faded slowly under his skin. He felt small again, human again. But when he touched the sand, it hummed beneath his hand. Alive, warm, and filled with light, he whispered to the horizon, "Maybe we weren't mistakes after all." The wind carried his words away, and far above, the 2 lights pulsed once, as if answering him, then faded into the dawn. Ryan sat there, breathing the quiet air. The human who had taken in 2 starving aliens now carried the legacy of gods, not by war, not by conquest, but by one simple act of mercy. And for the first time in a long time, the universe whispered something new. Not fear, not silence, but hope. The man between worlds. The light of dawn rose slow over Ravos. The twin suns painted the sand in copper and white, turning the ruins into mirrors. Ryan stood at the edge of the canyon, his armor cracked and covered in dust. The marks along his skin still glowed faintly beneath the morning light. Every heartbeat echoed with a quiet hum, the rhythm of something not entirely human anymore. He had not slept since the architects vanished. Sleep felt useless now. His dreams were too loud, filled with voices, memories, and songs that were not his. Eri's calm tone whispered sometimes, guiding him. Nye's laughter echoed faintly, soft like wind against glass. They were gone, but not gone. They existed through him. When he touched the ground, the sand warmed beneath his palm. When he breathed, the air shimmered faintly. And when he closed his eyes, he could still see the golden shadows of the beings who had called themselves gods. He should have felt powerful. Instead, he felt hollow. Because power had never been what he wanted. He only wanted to help them. 2 starving girls who had looked at him with fear and hope. He never expected to become their legacy. The wind carried a distant hum. Not natural. Not part of the planet. He turned toward the horizon and saw them. Dark dots moving fast across the desert sky. Ships. Human ships, he sighed. "So they finally found me," he muttered. Eri's voice spoke quietly inside him. "They fear what they don't understand." He nodded. "Always have." The ships descended in formation, leaving trails of white vapor across the red sky. Dust exploded outward as the first landed near the canyon. From the smoke emerged armored soldiers, rifles ready. Their helmets gleamed silver. Terran fleet insignia, shining like blades. One of them stepped forward. "Identify yourself," the voice ordered through static. Ryan raised his hands slowly, light flickering along his fingertips. "Captain Ryan Hale," he said calmly. The soldiers froze. Someone whispered, "He's supposed to be dead." The commander's visor tilted. "Step away from the crater," he said. "You're infected with alien residue." Ryan gave a tired smile. "Infected? That's one way to say blessed." The commander raised his weapon. "Don't move, Captain," he warned. Ryan sighed. Always the same orders, he said. Then something inside him stirred. The ground vibrated faintly, as if the planet itself had taken a breath. Nye's soft voice whispered in his mind, "They don't see what you are, only what they fear." Eri's voice followed. "Do not fight them, Ryan. But do not kneel either." He looked at the soldiers, their eyes hidden behind glass, their hearts hidden behind fear. He spread his hands slowly. Light rippled outward, not as a weapon, but as warmth. The rifle's sensors malfunctioned instantly. Alarms flared, lights blinked red, the soldiers stumbled back, shouting, "What's happening?" Ryan's voice carried calmly through the chaos. "You came to capture me," he said. "But what you really came for was understanding." The commander fired. The plasma shot hit his chest. But instead of burning, it dissolved into light. The energy spread through him, weaving into his veins like silk. He looked down at the faint blue shimmer on his armor, then back up at them. "Energy doesn't destroy me anymore," he said softly. "It listens." The soldiers lowered their weapons, uncertain. Behind them, a deep rumble shook the air. Ryan turned toward the sky, and his heart stopped. A second fleet was descending, not human. Their ships moved like shadows, sleek, alive, pulsing with alien light, the mirror-born. Eri's voice whispered urgently. "They followed the architect's trail," Nye added, frightened. "They want what we left in you." Ryan clenched his fists, the light on his arms flaring bright. "Then they'll have to ask nicely," he said. The sky split open, blue lightning crackling between the human ships and the alien fleet. For a moment, the desert stood between two civilizations, both armed, both afraid, and in the middle stood one man glowing softly in the dust. The commander shouted, "Captain, what are you doing?" "They're targeting us." Ryan didn't answer. He stepped forward and raised his hands. The glow spread wider, touching both skies. The air filled with vibration, like the sound of distant bells. Then silence. Every weapon, every engine, every machine stopped. The entire battlefield froze. Even the wind went still, and in that impossible quiet, Ryan's voice carried across the desert. "Enough," he said simply. His words weren't just sound, they were light. They echoed through both fleets, through the comms, through the hearts of every soldier. Human and alien alike felt the same memory. A memory of a dying world. Two starving sisters, and one man who fed them. Ryan looked between the two armadas. "You've spent centuries fighting over what you don't understand," he said. "But the universe doesn't care who owns the light. It only remembers who shared it." Eri's voice was soft in his mind, proud and calm. "You finally understand." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I do." The sky began to brighten again. The alien ships slowly turned away, vanishing into clouds of gold. The human fleet powered down their weapons. And for the first time in decades, the desert of Ravos was quiet. Ryan knelt, pressing his glowing hand to the sand. "Rest now," he whispered. "This war is done." Beneath his touch, the dunes shimmered faintly. Tiny blue flowers, made of light, bloomed across the barren ground. Above him, the suns aligned perfectly. Their light merged into one long beam that reached the horizon. It shone brighter than fire, and somewhere deep inside him, the sisters laughed together, a sound that was both farewell and beginning. Ryan looked up and whispered with a tired smile. "They were starving and alone," he said softly, "but they taught the universe how to share." The voice of the stars. The desert was quiet now. For the first time in living memory, the skies of Ravos were clear. No ships, no weapons, no storms, just the soft hum of wind, moving through a world that was finally breathing again. Ryan walked alone through the sand, his armor cracked and scorched. The glow beneath his skin had dimmed, but it still flickered with each heartbeat. He had stopped being a soldier long ago. Now he was something else. Something between man and myth. The Terran fleet had left. The alien ships had vanished beyond the horizon, and the planet that was once dead now shimmered faintly with life. Blue light spread through the cracks of its surface, like veins beneath skin. Every step Rian took made the ground pulse softly. As if the world recognized him, he stopped near the crater where it all began, the place where he first found the sisters. The wind whispered across the glassed sand. Their laughter echoed faintly in his mind. "You kept your promise," Eri said softly. He smiled. "Barely," he whispered. Nai's voice giggled. "Barely is still winning." He sat down, staring at the horizon where twin suns were sinking. For a long while he said nothing. Then he whispered, "Is this what peace feels like?" Eri's voice answered after a pause. "Peace is never silence," she said. "It's the space between storms." He chuckled quietly. "You always sound like a teacher. And you always sound like a soldier, trying to pretend you aren't tired." She replied gently. He smiled but didn't deny it. He was tired. Bone deep, soul deep, tired. The glow under his skin began to fade slowly. He looked down at his hands. The silver lines that once burned like lightning were now faint. "Guess I'm running out of light," he said softly. Nai's voice trembled. "You gave too much," she whispered. "The planet took some of you to heal." Ryan closed his eyes. "Then maybe that's fair," he said. "I took enough from the universe already, for a while." There was only the wind. Then the ground beneath him began to hum again. Soft, low, familiar. He frowned. "Eri?" he asked. But this wasn't their voice. It was deeper, older, vast. Something ancient, waking beneath the surface. The air shimmered. Light began to rise from the sand, swirling around him like mist. It wasn't gold like the architects, nor blue like the sisters. It was pure white, the color of beginning. "Ryan Hale," the voice said. It was neither male nor female. It sounded like the sky speaking. "You carry what was never meant to survive." Ryan stood slowly, his pulse quickening. "Yeah, I get that a lot," he said. The voice ignored the humor. "You changed the design," it said. "You took mercy and made it eternal." He frowned. "I didn't change anything," he said. "I just couldn't watch them die." The voice replied, "And that is why creation chose you." The wind howled suddenly, lifting dust into spirals of light. Rian shielded his eyes. "What are you?" he shouted. "I am the memory," the voice said. The echo left behind by the first spark. He didn't understand, but he could feel it. This wasn't God or machine. This was the universe itself, speaking through the light he carried. The ground split open gently beneath him, revealing a river of glowing sand. It flowed like liquid glass, whispering softly. Images danced within it, stars being born, worlds rising, civilizations falling. Every story, every choice, every act of kindness or cruelty, all connected, all remembered. You gave fire to a dying world, the memory said. You fed what others would have abandoned. You taught the endless, that compassion still exists. Rian looked down at the river. "I didn't mean to teach anything," he said. "I just wanted to help." And that, the voice said, is what creation had forgotten. The light began to rise higher, wrapping around him like wind. He could feel the weight of his body fading, his breath slowing, his heartbeat softening into rhythm with the planet. Nai's voice whispered, panicked. "Ryan, what's happening?" Eri's tone followed, calm but sad. "He's going where we cannot." He smiled faintly. "Don't sound so serious," he said. "I always wanted to see what comes next." The white light brightened until the desert disappeared. He floated weightless, surrounded by stars that pulsed like living hearts. The voice spoke one final time. "Go, human," it said. "Carry the song of mercy into the dark." And then there was silence. Not the silence of death, but the silence of understanding. When the light faded, the crater was empty. Only faint footprints glowed in the sand. 3 sets. Side by side, above, two suns rose again, and for a moment, they shimmered brighter, as if remembering, far away among the stars, a story began to spread of a man who fed two starving aliens on a forgotten world, of sisters who gave him their light, and of a universe that learned compassion through one act of kindness. They called him many names, the light-bearer, the human star, the one who fed hope, but the truth was simpler. He was just a man who refused to turn away, and somewhere, far beyond the stars, the sisters watched him through the glow of every sunrise. He kept his promise, Nye whispered. He always does. Eri replied softly, and the universe, for the first time, smiled. The voice of the stars. The desert was quiet now. For the first time in living memory, the skies of Ravos were clear. No ships, no weapons, no storms, just the soft hum of wind, moving through a world that was finally breathing again. Ryan walked alone through the sand, his armor cracked and scorched. The glow beneath his skin had dimmed, but it still flickered with each heartbeat. He had stopped being a soldier long ago. Now he was something else. Something between man and myth. The Terran fleet had left. The alien ships had vanished beyond the horizon, and the planet that was once dead now shimmered faintly with life. Blue light spread through the cracks of its surface, like veins beneath skin. Every step Rian took made the ground pulse softly. As if the world recognized him, he stopped near the crater where it all began. The place where he first found the sisters. The wind whispered across the glassed sand. Their laughter echoed faintly in his mind. You kept your promise, Eri said softly. He smiled. Barely, he whispered. Nye's voice giggled. Barely is still winning, he sat down, staring at the horizon where twin suns were sinking. For a long while, he said nothing. Then he whispered, Is this what peace feels like? Eri's voice answered after a pause. Peace is never silence, she said. It's the space between storms, he chuckled quietly. You always sound like a teacher. And you always sound like a soldier, trying to pretend you aren't tired, she replied gently. He smiled but didn't deny it. He was tired. Bone deep, soul deep tired. The glow under his skin began to fade slowly. He looked down at his hands. The silver lines that once burned like lightning were now faint. Guess I'm running out of light, he said softly. Nye's voice trembled. You gave too much, she whispered. The planet took some of you to heal. Ryan closed his eyes. Then maybe that's fair, he said. I took enough from the universe already. For a while, there was only the wind. Then the ground beneath him began to hum again. Soft. Low, familiar. He frowned. Eri, he asked, but this wasn't their voice. It was deeper, older, vast, something ancient waking beneath the surface. The air shimmered. Light began to rise from the sand, swirling around him like mist. It wasn't gold like the architects, nor blue like the sisters. It was pure white, the color of beginning. Ryan hail, the voice said. It was neither male nor female. It sounded like the sky speaking. You carry what was never meant to survive. Ryan stood slowly, his pulse quickening. Yeah, I get that a lot, he said. The voice ignored the humor. You changed the design, it said. You took mercy and made it eternal, he frowned. I didn't change anything, he said. I just couldn't watch them die. The voice replied, and that is why creation chose you. The wind howled suddenly, lifting dust into spirals of light. Ryan shielded his eyes. What are you? He shouted. I am the memory, the voice said. The echo left behind by the first spark. He didn't understand, but he could feel it. This wasn't God or machine. This was the universe itself, speaking through the light he carried. The ground split open gently beneath him, revealing a river of glowing sand. It flowed like liquid glass, whispering softly. Images danced within it, stars being born, worlds rising, civilizations falling. Every story, every choice, every act of kindness or cruelty, all connected, all remembered. You gave fire to a dying world, the memory said. You fed what others would have abandoned. You taught the endless, that compassion still exists. Ryan looked down at the river. I didn't mean to teach anything, he said. I just wanted to help. And that, the voice said, is what creation had forgotten. The light began to rise higher, wrapping around him like wind. He could feel the weight of his body fading, his breath slowing, his heartbeat softening into rhythm with the planet. Nai's voice whispered, panicked. Ryan, what's happening? Eri's tone followed, calm but sad. He's going where we cannot. He smiled faintly. Don't sound so serious, he said. I always wanted to see what comes next. The white light brightened until the desert disappeared. He floated weightless, surrounded by stars that pulsed like living hearts. The voice spoke one final time. Go, human, it said. Carry the song of mercy into the dark. And then there was silence. Not the silence of death, but the silence of understanding. When the light faded, the crater was empty. Only faint footprints glowed in the sand. 3 sets, side by side, above. 2 suns rose again. And for a moment, they shimmered brighter, as if remembering far away among the stars. A story began to spread of a man who fed 2 starving aliens on a forgotten world, of sisters who gave him their light, and of a universe that learned compassion through one act of kindness. They called him many names. The light bearer, the human star, the one who fed hope. But the truth was simpler. He was just a man who refused to turn away, and somewhere, far beyond the stars, the sisters watched him through the glow of every sunrise. He kept his promise, Nai whispered. He always does. Eri replied softly, and the universe, for the first time, smiled.